When we last saw Steven Universe, Steven found himself in the middle of a precarious situation, the formation of two new unlucky roommates, Peridot and Lapis. If it wasn't made clear at the end of Same Old World, this episode wastes no time making it abundantly obvious here that Lapis isn't too fond of the idea of being roomies with a former enemy. Ever since Katzen released, the series spent a lot of time developing Peridot into the lovable character that we cherish today, but poor Lapis was a bit preoccupied during that time. Coupled with her already defined issues, the pair was doomed to get off to a rocky start. Thankfully, they have the greatest mediator of the 21st century on their side, Steven Universe. Of course, the problem is their relationship prior to this was adversarial, and Lapis isn't particularly interested in engaging in crafting a different one with Peridot. While it'd normally be easy to blame Lapis for being a curmudgeon, the series goes out of its way to make Cersei remain sympathetic as he crushes the hopes of the recently reformed Peridot. It's all in the little interactions he carries with Steven throughout this whole debacle. A quick smile early on to soften the blow and later reassuring him that he isn't the one to blame. Steven's been an integral part of both characters' reformation, metaphorically or literally, so sandwiching him in between the two's conflict allows Lapis room to show her kindness rather than being unrelentingly mean to Peridot. That's not to imply that she's entirely unjustified in her opinion either. Not only do most of Peridot's attempts at forging a friendship end up inadvertently dredging up more painful memories for Lapis, but the problems that Lapis has with Peridot established at the beginning of the episode are far from unreasonable. Lapis Lazuli is a character that has constantly been utilized as nothing more than a tool, to the point of leading to something of a martyr complex. The fact that Peridot wants to find her as just that, a tool, means Lapis isn't likely to be skewed by a few pretty words from the mouth of something that disregarded her like Peridot happened to. And it goes without saying, the series has more than done its job with making Peridot a credible source of affection. One of the biggest joys of Steven Universe at this point in the series has been witnessing the progress Peridot is constantly making as he attempts to grasp something that doesn't fall into the simple constructs he was taught under. It should come as no surprise that this doesn't come natural to her, which is where Steven factors in. Steven's acted as a constant guide for Peridot throughout the cluster arc and continues serving his duty here in a way that still forces Peridot to reflect herself. The first plan he directly proposes, making the centerpiece of it about Peridot's feelings. It fails, despite Peridot taking over an hour to craft the most sincere statements he could muster. The next two plans are something Peridot had more of a hand in devising. The pool was more of a team effort, while the final one was a suggestion that Peridot managed to capitalize on with the best idea imaginable. Throughout the episode, Peridot's role in devising these plans only grows bigger, a pretty subtle way of showcasing her maturing ability to emotionally express herself. This maturation is highlighted when Peridot's final plan ends up backfiring as Lapis destroys the tape recorder Peridot gifted her. The tape recorder was a source of comfort for Peridot. It allowed her to air out her grievances and, more importantly, it acted as an emotional crutch. Earlier in the episode Too Far, she required it to deliver an apology to Amethyst because she was incapable of tackling a direct approach. So it's only fitting that when Lapis smashed the tape recorder, Peridot finally manages to unload in a more genuine way than we've seen from her. That's why the tape itself remained unharmed, because only the crutch was smashed, the emotions they supported remained intact. The following sequence leads to a few striking ideas and manages to deliver some poignant points. The most immediate and apparent is the parallel between Peridot and Lapis, something Peridot is quick to point out. The two certainly find themselves in a similar predicament here, forced to make Earth their home, but their roots aren't vastly different either. For the longest time, both of them were viewed primarily as tools. Lapis' situation was more blunt and rough than Peridot's, since he was more a casualty of war, whereas Peridot was happily subservient. It wasn't until messages received on her debate about the cluster with the yellow diamond did she truly realize how little worth was placed on her. Despite this connection, Lapis still isn't interested in befriending Peridot, instead sending her away, something which Peridot complies with without a word, which is heartbreaking. Luckily, there's still one more connection between the two, Steven, the one who freed both of them and has contributed greatly to both of their development. As I've said in the Same Old World review, which I know I didn't make a video, trust me, I said this, the show has finally gotten around to starting the healing process for Lapis, and as great of a friend as Steven is, it's hardly therapeutic to remain constricted to one ally. But it isn't easy for Lapis to set aside her preconceived notions about Peridot, and despite Peridot's valiant efforts, Lapis isn't in a place where she could so easily forgive and forget. Peridot would never be able to win over Lazuli by herself, but with a heartfelt vouch of confidence from Steven, the one person we know she can implicitly trust, a chance shines through when Lapis is able to contextualize the situation with a little less bias. And it doesn't hurt that Peridot immediately rushes back being chased by a Roman eye. It's clear to see where this is going. After quickly dispatching the Roman eye, Peridot and Lapis share a moment that indicates that their relationship can finally start fresh. The episode ends with the ruby popping out of the Roman eye, gaining anticipation for the next episode after providing a satisfying conclusion to the conflict here. With only only an 11-minute runtime, it's impressive how well connected the first 5 episodes of this season are. I'd also feel amiss if I didn't take time to praise the voice acting. Zach Calliston and Jennifer Paz are both brilliant here, providing both emotional and comedic scenes with the perfect inflections to complement the emotions or the joke. But really, it's Selby Rabara that steals the show. I don't think there's a single line in this episode that didn't have me at least chuckling or tugged on my heart. My favorite line delivery of the episode has to be her, "I got your number." Don't think it's possible to make that line any funnier than Selby did here. Bondmates doesn't top Gem Drill for me, nor is it my second favorite of the season if I count in the next episode too. But this is another strong episode, a hallmark one even. With the amount of progression it gave to both Peridot and Lapis, the future for the Crystal Gems seemed brighter than ever before, even with this new threat looming.